How you doing, everybody? It is Jonathan here, founder of JM Growth Co. And our mission is to help businesses get through 3 levels of success. Level 1, $1 million in sales. Level 2, $1 million in profit. And level 3, scale and sell. So in this video, we're going to be giving you a few different reasons on why your business has not hit $1 million in sales yet, which is level 1 of our program and how we help businesses grow and scale, and we make business growth simple. That being said, why is your business not making at least $1 million in sales? Well, I want to let you know that you are not alone. There's about 33 million businesses in the US right now, and only 4% of them actually make over $1 million in revenue. That's sales, right? That doesn't mean they're even profiting. They could be breaking even or they could be losing money, but only 4% actually do so. So that means if you actually get to this point, you're in the top 5% of all businesses in the entire country. And that's a great accomplishment to actually have that get done, right? So if you're actually thinking, well, if most businesses never hit $1 million in sales, does that mean that I'm just in the wrong business? Well, here at JM Growth Co, we believe that any business can actually get to $1 million in sales. That's why we help all types of businesses do so. And pretty much the only thing that's missing is the proper systems or architecture of the actual business itself. So a lot of people try to overcomplicate business growing their business, right? I mean, there's many people who work 30 years, 40 years in the same business and their business never grows. They might have 30 years in the books, but do they really have 30 years experience if there's no growth happening? They probably have 2 years experience repeated 15 times. Completely different. So whether you're brand new in business or whether you've been in business for a long time and your goal has always, hey, let me hit that 7-figure mark, let me make $1 million in sales, and for whatever reason you feel stuck, congratulations, you found the right channel. So make sure you subscribe, and you're definitely going to want to watch till the rest of this video. So that being said, when you actually think about it, you are probably in a situation right now where you are burning out, right? So you're working your bum off, you try to hire a few people, no one really worked out, and now you just kind of gave up because you're saying it's impossible in my business. I can't make $1 million, but I would like to do so. When you actually think about it, there's only 3 parts of business that you can actually focus on. 1 is going to be marketing. 2 is going to be sales. 3 is then going to be operations. And if I'm willing to bet, if your goal is to get to $1 million in sales and you have not, you're probably focusing heavily on operations. And what I mean by that, I probably mean that you're the one actually touching the customer. You're considered an artist. You're perfect at your craft itself, but you probably hate selling and you probably hate marketing, right? If that sounds like you, fully understand. I was in that shoes for a little bit of time as well until I actually learned a lesson. The lesson was to get to $1 million in sales, you need to be really good at 3 things. 1, be really good at knowing who your customer is, right? And that's a marketing tactic. 2, be really good at understanding what your customer's pain points are so you can actually know how to sell them. And then 3, be really good at actually making sure that the customer gets what they actually paid for. It's just that simple. You can pretty much get any business out there without, of course, the extremes to at least $1 million in sales. Even though there's only 4% of businesses that actually do it, most of those businesses don't have the proper infrastructure, don't have the proper actual architecture of their business, or have the improper leader as well, and don't have the proper coaching. So if your goal is to actually get to $1 million in sales, JM Growth Co can give you all the guidance that you need to actually get there. But let's kind of break it down. What does $1 million in sales actually look like? So step 1, make that a target, make that a goal. So at this point, now you got to make $1 million math. So how do I actually hit $1 million in sales? You may be selling a $200 product, $5,000 product, right? Am I selling $1 million product that just got to sell 1 per year? How many units do you actually have to sell? At that point, you're going to say, okay, how many customers did I have? How much money did I make last year? Divide total sales by total customers. That gives you your average price per sale. Now at this point, you probably don't really know what your best customer is, because the next phase, when you focus on the marketing hat, is going to be, okay, who's my audience? For marketing to work, you need 3 things. You're going to need to have the right audience with the right message and the right delivery and timing. So that means in order to get to $1 million in sales, you have to be very clear on your audience. You're probably falling into a trap that a lot of business owners fall into, which is, hey, I got to do everything for everybody because I know what it feels like. You open up your doors, you got bills to pay. If somebody's willing to give you money, you're going to take it. Even though, like, say you're a plumber and somebody's saying, hey, can you change my light bulb or can you do electrical? You're going to be like, yeah, you got money? I'll do it for you. Instead of just being the best plumber you can be. To make $1 million in sales, I know it doesn't sound crazy and it sounds like a big deal. It's actually just getting really good at one thing. You cannot be everything for everybody, but you can be everything for somebody. What does that actually mean? Knowing who your audience is. Who do you love helping the most in your business? Once you get super clear on that, what are their fears? What are their desires? What are their goals? How do they speak? What is their language? Really understand where they're hanging out. At that point, now what is going to be your message? By message, I mean, what's the offer? Like, if you're going to be advertising to people, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's just cold calling, things like that, what's actually going to pique their interest? What's going to keep them on the phone itself? Or what's going to keep them on the page? Then from there, where do they go? How do you actually deliver them the service or the actual ad itself? All these things can be customized per business, but we'll give you a framework to make sure that you know exactly what you'd be focusing on, right? So if you get really good on who your customer is and not just service everybody for everything, right? I know when I was a small business owner, I owned a restaurant and somebody asked me, okay, who's your customer? I said, anybody who eats chicken, because I sell chicken. And that was kind of broad. At that point, I thought, okay, the more people I serve, the easier it is for me to make $1 million. And when I realized this lesson after, I was like, wow, if I just really focus on my marketing on one individual, one type, one stereotype of people, at this point, I know I can make my $1 million just on these type of people alone, of the people I want to attract to me. But even if other people come, that's great. That's just icing on the cake. I don't have to chase that. So at this point, get really good on understanding who your customer is, who your customer avatar is. We run a whole marketing workshop that can actually walk you through a step-by-step guide on how to make sure that you find your best customer avatar. So you walk out exactly knowing what to do. Because once you know who it is, what to say to them is a message, and then how to deliver, we'll walk you through all that. From there is going to be, what is your sales process? Now, from here, I kind of hear, okay, what's your sales process? Well, I get on the phone and I just talk to a few people, and some of them say yes, some of them say no. Or the best thing is, I don't need to spend any money on marketing because everything's referral. Once I hear that, that is a gold mine for me, because at this point, you spend zero money on marketing, zero efforts on marketing, and you just became a lazy business owner. You became a business operator. And my goal for you, if this is what you choose, is to become a business owner, which means you have the choice to work in the business if you want to, only just to kind of keep yourself going, but mostly work on the business, because that should be the goal for any business owner. Business operators, I heard one time, get tired. Business owners get rich itself. So if you're not making $1 million in sales, most likely you're probably really good at operations. You probably have a really good product. Nobody knows about you, and you have no sales process at all. So all we really have to do is two main things. We have to focus on your marketing, and before that, we even have to focus on your sales process. How are you picking up the phone? How's your employees picking up the phone? What's the actual intake of the customer? How do we handle customer objections, depending on what kind of lead flow you're getting? Once we handle that first, work on your sales scripts, work on your sales process. What does a follow-up sequence look like? We can help you out with all that with our sales workshop itself. Then we're going to start understanding who is our customer, who's our top paying customers, and how do we get in front of most of those people. Because if you really get good at solving one individual problem for a group of people, you can make $1 million a year no matter what you do. So if you are interested in making $1 million a year in sales, and then eventually $1 million in profit, and then of course scale and sell if that's your goal, check out our website, jmgrowthco.com. We're definitely here to help you out. And pretty much the main thing to understand is you have three parts of the business. Operations is only one of them. Sales and marketing is where you make most of the money. So if you fully understand the 3-step system, and marketing, sales, and operations, you can make any business $1 million as long as you have the proper blueprint and the right amount of time. So if you're interested in learning more, check out our website, jmgrowthco.com. Again, jmgrowthco.com. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.